Well, for you guys that were asking about doing an engine swap in a 12 valve truck, I have this truck in here, customer's truck. We built an engine for, and it has a porosity hole in the block and it's leaking coolant. So I gotta switch the engine out for the guy. So I figured I'd video it for you guys that wanted to see. Most of it's gonna be on time lapse, being that it's not really any spots that I get to that are difficult, I guess. I'll show you guys any little things. I will put this first part video, or the first part of the video up, so it'll be just removing will be part 1, and then putting it back in will be part 2, and then probably do a little bit of setup on it. Maybe it'll be part 3 kind of idea. But in the end of this video, in the comments, let me know if there's anything you want me to show while I'm putting it back together, if you guys have questions on doing anything. And there probably will be a couple other little videos that I'll show in here while I'm doing this. That'll be separate videos, the guys have asked about or whatever. So we will get after here, and yeah.
Alright guys, you can see I'm just pulling, getting the stuff off of it, basically pulling the rest of the fan shroud stuff out. I had already pulled the fan out of the truck prior to starting the video because I needed to see where the leak was coming from, but most of this stuff is pretty straightforward. You know, like if you ever had an engine apart or anything disassembled, it's pretty much just like Lego. You just pull bolts out until nothing's attached anymore, basically. That's kind of how I explain it to people. These things are very rudimentary. They're very simple. There's not really anything that's super... There's nothing that you can't do for the most part without... or with... that you have to have special tools. Pulling the fan hub off is a bit ignorant if you take it off that way, but you can do it with just taking the pulley off itself with a ratchet wrench. And then you can get in there for that one stubborn bolt and leave the fan right on there. Lots of people do it that way. Pulling the intercooler out, you do need to take the rad out to get the intercooler out. Well, you don't have to. You can pull the rad up. It's way easier if you just take it out. And I always take the bumper and stuff off. Lots of guys don't take the bumper off when they're pulling the engines out of these, but I pull the bumper off just because I find that it's easier. You need to loosen it. You don't have to take it right off. You need to loosen it to get the intercooler out anyway. So I just prefer just to pull it out of the way, and then you don't have to lean over top of it, right? I can't think of anything else that's like super difficult. It's just, like I said, it's just literally nuts and bolts in the process. But if there is anything that you guys can think of when I'm putting this thing back together that you want to see per se, let me know, because it's one of those things. It's hard for me to decide on what to do. Like, you know, this stuff for me is just, like, I've been doing it so long. Just, like I said, it's like Lego. So I am leaving the turbo and most of the injection system and all that stuff on this thing before I pull it out, or as I pull it out. One thing I did want to note, though, is when you're pulling them out of these things, if you pull number 5 and number 6 rocker and push, or rocker assembly and stuff off, you will need to take the engine mounts off to get them out without lifting the cab up at all. Or your other option is to loosen all the cab bolts and just lift it up a little bit. But if you pull the engine mounts while it's in there and the number 5 and number 6 rocker and valve cover off, it's tight, but it comes out of there. When I put it back in, I will be putting it back in just as a short block and then bolting the cylinder head on afterwards. I find it that way much easier, and then you don't have to hold the engine. It's easier. I find it easier that way. So that's how I'll be putting it back in, but that's not how lots of guys do it, but that's how I do it. And especially being that we're putting the engine together, so it doesn't matter whether I put the head on now or the head on before I put it in or after. So
Hey guys, so basically to the point now where this engine's gonna come out, I don't think I really need a video pulling it out on the engine stand or engine crane. But I got everything tore apart, the rest of it tore apart. I'm just gonna quickly lift it up on the hoist and show you guys the underneath. There's a couple little things that I wanted to show. A trick though that I did want to say, when you're pulling the starter out, if you're pulling the starter out from up here, and if you're taking the engine out, you can see where the top bolt is there on the, hopefully you guys can see that. Oh yeah, you'll be able to see it. Right below the primer for the lift pump. If you use, they're 10 mil 12 point. If you use one of these extensions when you have it apart, it's super fast to do it this way, with a swivel on the end of the socket. This one's a Mac one, but you can use a cheap one, and some long extensions. You can reach that. This doesn't have the right end on it, but you can reach that right in there and zip that bolt out super quick. So I just thought I'd give a little hint on that one. Makes life a little easier for doing it. You can just get in there with a ratchet wrench. That's usually, like, if I don't have the front of the truck apart, that's how I usually do it. I just break it loose with a regular wrench and then use a stubby ratchet wrench, and you can whip it out usually pretty quick, as long as somebody hasn't put Loctite or something on it, which is a pain if they do. But just gotta raise this thing up here and all right, so we got this thing lifted up. Obviously bell housing bolts and all that stuff, you got to take all that off. If it's an automatic, you will have to do torque converter bolts and all that jazz. I don't know if there's anything under here. None of it's really that super hard. Oh, that's actually something. If you're taking an AC compressor off, for you guys that have never had one off, there's holes in the frame. See the hole in the frame there? That line's supposed to line up with the AC compressor. You don't usually, but you can if you need to get the AC compressor off and you wanted to get off easy. The easiest way to get off is just jack the engine up a little bit until those holes line up, and then you can take them out. Usually if I'm taking the engine out, all I can do, you can see how I got that one loose. I usually just take a ratchet wrench, loosen it up a little bit. Then when I lift the engine out, you can just zip them out real quick and you're good to go. You don't even have to loosen them. I usually just loosen them. I don't usually take it out that far, but I just happened to be standing here talking to somebody when I was doing it, so I got carried away taking them out. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Just pulling these out, I guess straightforward for me. I've had quite a few of them out over the years. So that'll conclude the video on pulling the engine out. I don't know if it's, you know, not really super exciting, but yeah, let me know if there's any videos that you want me to do while I'm putting the engine back in, or, you know, stuff that you guys want to see, stuff you've had problems with. I don't know. It's hard for me to really delineate what you guys want, what you don't want. I do this, you know, I don't take engines out every day anymore, but I've done it lots and lots and lots of times. So it's just, to me, it's nuts and bolts. So if there's something that you guys want me to do and you want to see, let me know in the comments below, and I will do that, my best to do it. I will be putting the engine back in this truck so I can do it on this truck. So it'll be in the next week or two as I get this thing back together. We'll probably be early next week. I'll be tearing the engine apart, fixing it, putting it back together. And I guess I could show you guys what happened to this engine. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this in the video. Should be able to. But if you look right there, in between those yellow lines, I don't know. Oh yeah, you can see it. See that line in the middle of those yellow lines? There's a crack right there. And right there, when you pressurize it, it leaks. Now, just so you guys understand, I've never seen this before. We magnaflux the blocks, but we usually just when we're doing them, we just magnaflux across the top. We could do across the sides, but I've never seen one crack there before, so we don't do it there. But across in here, across here, like this is all solid. It's solid behind there. There's no cavity inside. There's no cavity behind it. It's solid. You know, like you get a screwdriver, that's as far as a screwdriver goes up in there. And then it goes the same way the other way. So for it to be cracked there and leaking is like, it's super crazy. I think what happened, this is a block that we got for an exchange from somebody. And I'm thinking what happened, this is just speculation, is you can see where the fan hub bolts on there, where that crack is right where the fan hub touches the block and it stops. So what I'm thinking is that at some point in the life of this block, the front end of that truck that it came out of originally got punched in the front. So the fan got punched into it and cracked that. And I just happen to be the poor sucker that gets to fix it for free. But that is just one of those things. When you own the business, unless you're a scab bag, you fix stuff like that. Lots of scab bags around that don't fix that stuff, but I do. So anyways, like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments, and remember, it's not rocket science.